From the organizer of this symposium. It's been a real honor to be invited to Russia to hopefully make a connection with the Russian academic world and industrial world relative to our SPIRE initiative. SPIRE stands for Sustainable Process Industry, addressing European industrial competitiveness through resource and energy efficiency. As you can see, there's quite a few of different industries that are actually involved with this particular initiative, and the way we've tried to, let's say, represent our presence in Europe is by this logo on the right hand side showing a tree, which obviously is green and therefore connected to bio. SPIRE is more than bio, I should say. There's a lot more to it than only bio, but certainly the green and the effect of sustainability that we see depicted to that tree is what we want to represent. The process industry, we see kind of at the roots of the European welfare. As you can see there depicted in the branches, the process industry has been instrumental in creating prosperity in Europe in the first and the second industrial revolution, and we feel that the time is now there for need of a third, at least a third industrial revolution. And for Europe to remain prosperous, it's going to be required that the process industry plays a significant role into that. Yeah? One very important word on this first slide is the word sustainable. When we talk about sustainability, we really talk about the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps being people, planet, and profit. Yeah? We feel that whatever initiative that we're going to undertake in Europe, with Russia or elsewhere, unless these initiatives address the 3 Ps, they're really not going to last, and they're really not going to get the kind of support that are needed to make these initiatives successful. So whenever I talk through the rest of the presentation, sustainability is one of the keywords. The initiative for this public-private partnership proposal was taken, let's say, 2 years ago by a number of industries that are energy and resource intensive. And you can see them shown here. We have the chemical industry, the steel industry, engineering, water, glass, paper, ceramics, cement, minerals, aluminium, copper, nickel, more aluminium. So quite a few different industries joined up. Why? Well, they felt that for them to remain competitive in Europe, conditions are getting tougher and tougher. So the initial initiative was aimed at, can we make joint policy recommendations to Europe, to the European Commission, that will help us to continue to operate in a sustainable way also for our industry in Europe. Yeah. The fact that this is an important industry, you can see shown here in these numbers. More than 450,000 enterprises, nearly 7 million people employed, a very significant turnover. You can say roughly 20% of the European economy represented within this partnership. The big struggle for this partnership is kind of shown within these 2 graphs. These certainly are the worst of industries that you can see within that partnership. Shown here on the left-hand side, steel. On the right-hand side, we have the chemicals industry. And if you look at, let's say, the development of the growth, the prosperity in Europe over the last, let's say, 10 years, you can see that in Europe, that's been extremely stagnant. Yeah. This is not surprising, but I think the numbers are very illustrative of what the situation in Europe is. Not too long ago, Europe was still the largest region as far as production of chemicals. That is totally gone. Yeah. And so not only in growth terms, but also in absolute terms, we are losing our position. And with losing that position, we're also going to lose employment, and we're going to lose money generation, and that money generation that will ultimately lead to, let's say, the well-being and the welfare of the people in Europe, and certainly also to our ability to deal in a sustainable way with the planet and how we use our resources. So there is something that we need to do to reverse this trend, to come back to creating growth. Yeah? And the companies, some of the companies, these are not all companies that have been contributing and thinking along in the BPP proposal. proposal. There's many more. What we just listed here were a few of them that are, let's say, very strongly in Europe, as in they were originally from Europe, or they certainly have built a very significant presence in Europe. We hear these companies saying that, again, unless conditions in Europe improve, they're going to be more and more moving to other regions, and with that, you know, the employment and the welfare will move to those other regions. Yeah. So there's a need for action. What action is needed? Well, we think that through innovation we can put ourselves back on top of the road. Yeah. To be able to address innovation, there's obviously this value of that needs to be bridged. Yeah. This disconnect between the knowledge and implementing that knowledge into commercial application, where there is difficulty in finding the funds to invest into demonstration or commercial plans. And on the other hand, it's difficult for the market to get convinced to buy any new materials unless they know that these materials are going to be sustainably available. So there's this value of that. The other thing we feel we strongly need to do is, if we want to continue to grow, we have to do that in a way that we reduce the impact on the planet and on the people. Yeah? So we have to do that by not simply linearly increasing the resources. We have to become a lot more clever in how we use the resources and which resources that we use. And obviously this is where bioindustry comes in significantly. Yeah? So there's something that needs to be done. The way we want to address this issue is not only looking at our own industry, only looking at the process industry, and let's say only cleaning up our own house. The way we want to do it is the process industry, which is the industry which converts raw materials into, let's call them, enabled materials through physical processes, chemical processes, biochemical processes. They play a very central role in enabling resource and energy efficiency along the value chain, not just, again, within the things that we do alone. Yeah? So really we want to look at it in a value chain approach, going from the raw materials, if they are, let's say, traditional fossil or more renewable, you know, agricultural, going from the feed section through the conversion into really the application space as well. What is it that we need to do to enable resource and energy efficiency down the value chain? Think about, you know, creating more energy efficient buildings. Think about creating more resource and energy efficient transportation, where clearly new materials will have to be developed, and the process industries are going to be needed to deliver those new materials. Yeah? So along the value chain. Last but not least, we have a huge amount of secondary resource available to us that we're not using at this point in time. So we need to get a lot more clever in how we use the waste streams, if they are from industrial sources, if they are from post-consumer type of applications. Use those waste resources and feed them back in and convert them back into, let's call them, primary raw materials. These are, let's say, these are the sections where our program development wants to focus on. It's not just about what we need, there's also something that we want to deliver. So we've defined some ambitions for the PPP. One is a reduction in fossil energy intensity of up to 30% compared to, let's say, current levels. And by 2030, a reduction of up to 20% in non-renewable prime raw material intensity. Yeah? And obviously, both of these will contribute to a reduction in CO2 equivalents of, as it has been, let's say, targeted by the European Commission of being up to 40%. Yeah? To do that, we need not only research. I think it has been mentioned already today before. Europe is fairly good at using money to generate knowledge. We're not as good as using that knowledge to turn into money. Yeah? So, whereas for sure in certain fields we will need to do a lot more in the early chain of development. At the same time, we also need to invest a lot more, and again, do a lot more in this demonstration side of the chain. Yeah? Investing into creating demonstrations and enabling the industry to show that new technologies can actually work. Yeah? So this is clearly a research and innovation PPP, meaning we really also want to focus on the innovation aspects of the development. There have been a number of presentations around relative to what's happening in Europe, various initiatives. We feel we are very well connected to the smart, sustainable and inclusive growth as has been defined within the Europe 2020 strategy. But that's not the only link that we have. Yeah. There are a number of flagship initiatives that have been issued by various DGs. Very clearly, SPIRE is addressing some of the key strategic challenges that they have defined for themselves. Yeah? If they are about industrial competitiveness, innovation union, new skills, new jobs, resource efficiency, there's very clearly that link. And the link doesn't end there. There's a lot more. Yeah? What I don't want to pretend by this picture is that this PPP proposal sits in the center of the world. What I want to show by this picture is that we really feel that we have a lot of connections and a lot of opportunities for leverage and cross-support relative to some of the other initiatives. If they are, for instance, the SET plan around energy, the raw materials EIP, the water EIP, some of the existing PPPs, regrowth plan PPPs, whatever new future PPPs that might be coming along. Clearly, the bioeconomy that has been spoken about, and I think the PPP initiative that is going to be proposed there as well. Clearly, there are various aspects where we connect to those other initiatives and where we feel we can be a tool of implementation. Yeah? This is about creating a tool of implementation, not about it being a goal in itself. Yeah? We launched our PPP proposal through this document that you can find on the web towards the end of last year. It resulted in several references within the Horizon 2020 document that the Commission launched at the end of November. And so that's good. Yeah, we've been recognized, and the Commission recognized that this is an initiative that deserves, let's say, further attention. Towards Easter, we received this letter from Commissioner Potočnik on behalf of 4 other commissioners: energy, innovation, trade, environment. Okay, 5 commissioners, and again, I think also they indicate that SPIRE is a tool that will help implement a lot of the strategic challenges that they have put forward for themselves and for their DGs. Yeah? So the support, the political support, is clearly there, which has resulted in a request for further action. Yeah? Obviously, we're not approved yet. There's a process that we'll have to go through in Parliament, in the Council, but we've been asked to take some further actions. And briefly, I want to speak about those 2 further actions that we're going to be undertaking. One is the formation of a legal entity, the Association SPIRE, which will be the, let's say, private spokesbody for those that have taken the initiative to launch this PPP. I'll talk about that in a minute more. The other one is drafting a multi-year roadmap. Just like the current recovery PPPs, they have a multi-year roadmap, and the Commission uses this multi-year roadmap as a piece of reference to issue calls for that PPP and the allocated budget with that. Yeah. And in a similar way, the Commission would like to work with our PPP once we get approved. Yeah. So, to build on that, we've called upon the help of a number of leading research and technology organizations within Europe, because we feel that they have a lot of experience in building roadmaps, and we want to leverage on what is good and existing. We don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel. Additionally, they are very familiar with working across sectors, and clearly that's one of the key things that we want to achieve within this PPP. We don't want to work on our own little islands as a steel industry or as a chemical industry. We really want to work cross-sectorial. Yeah? That's why we called in for their help. And really, with them, we're kind of working in this triangle of RTOs in the academic world, broad industry representation, and then the sectorial representation to really look at the content, make sure that we line up a roadmap that is logical in the priorities and the time and the budget that's associated with that, and making sure that this is widely supported, so widely endorsed, I think the participation in the whole road mapping process, we're covering a very nice area of Europe. There's always room for more. It's not a closed initiative. For those that really want to make a significant contribution, there's always room to become part of SPIRE and think along in creating its content. These are really the, let's call it, the key components of the content. One will be on feed. How is it that we can, for instance, look into alternative sources like bio, alternative sources for resources, but also more renewable sources for energy. What is it that we can do to improve our processes, process intensification? I talked about the whole waste issue and how can we better make use of secondary feed streams. Obviously, the role of water has to be very much considered within these initiatives because it's fairly essential. And then, again, looking also in the end-use applications in the market as to what is it that we need to do to create resource and energy efficiency down the value chain. That this is not simple, I think, is probably obvious to everyone. There's a lot of existing infrastructure in Europe that we're not simply going to throw away and put new infrastructure in it. Yeah. So you'll have to evolve as an industry into becoming more sustainable, while at the same time I think we have to revolutionize our thinking as to how is it that we're going to do things, and when there's opportunity for really bringing new components into the process, that we really consider them on their merits, not just because we know it's proven technology, but we really try to bring technology forward, really revolutionary. And that's why I think the public support is needed. About the association, okay, this is a moving slide. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, these are today the confirmed members that are going to be part of the association. Bottom, you can see the sector representations. In the middle, some of the academic and scientific institutes that have agreed to become a member of the SPIRE Association. And here you see the industry representation, where I'm sure you will recognize names like DSM and Evonik. We have CLIP, we have Green Chemistry Campus from the Netherlands. So we're being very broad in our approach. We have minerals companies, we have steel companies. So really, this is a very broadly supported initiative. And all these people are going to not only pay for being part of the association, they have also thought about what is it that they want to implement as part of the PPP. And we think we're looking at a budget, a private contribution to what this PPP would be of something like 200 million euros per year. And obviously, we're hoping that the Commission will at least match that contribution, but more is always good. Which would lead to a total PPP of something like 3 billion euros over the lifetime of Horizon 2020. And with that, well, thank you for your attention. If there's any questions, you can ask them probably afterwards, or time for questions and answers.